Tellico Village Broadcasting presents Tellico Village Naturally. Join us as we explore the interesting wildlife and nature's beauty that surround us here in Tellico Village. Now, here's your host, Keith Sanderson.
Welcome to this episode of Tellico Village Naturally, where we're going to learn about our state parks. And we're really fortunate for two reasons. One, Tennessee has a diverse offering of state parks and amenities, both natural and some man-made. And the other great thing we have is Randy Hedgepath, who is with us today. And Randy is state naturalist for the state parks of Tennessee. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Hey, what's a state naturalist do?
Well, I have been picked to be the statewide programmer for Tennessee State Parks. I travel the state end to end, doing nature walks and slideshows and other programs about nature and about our parks.
Wow, well, you're on the right program because this is Tellico Village Naturally. And you've had more than 30 years of experience, both at the national park level and at the Tennessee level, is that right?
Well, I've been working for Tennessee State Parks for 33 years, but I was a seasonal for the National Park Service for 3 years in the Ozarks and out west. And before that, I had some seasonal jobs with state parks as well.
Wow, you're certainly experienced. You must know a lot about the state parks in Tennessee.
Well, I try to be an expert about that, yes.
Well, I'm going to tell you something you probably already know, is that I have really had a great experience with any contact I've had with state park personnel as far as knowledge, willing to share that knowledge and being really helpful. And although it's only anecdotal, I'm sure most of the Tellico villagers who have visited the state parks will echo me.
I think our ranger staff and the employees of Tennessee State Parks are the top-notch. I'm really proud of all of them. In
addition to the employees, the diversity of the parks, I mean, there's everything from kayaking to camping to lodges. It's really diverse. And first of all, there's state parks and state wildernesses and forests, and are they all the same and under the state park system, or are they controlled by different people?
Well, in Tennessee State Parks, we have 56 designated parks. We also have over 80 different natural areas that we administer. Some of our parks and natural areas are together. They're both park and natural area. State forests are administered by the Department of Agriculture Forestry Division. And we also in the state have national parks like Smoky Mountains and Big South Fork and Cumberland Gap, and wildlife areas administered by TWRA. But our 56 state parks includes several that are around the Tellico Village area.
Could you tell us a little bit about those? Because maybe some within an hour or two drive?
Yes, we have over 30 different parks within a couple-hour drive of this area. And the closest one I would say would be Fort Loudon State Historic Area, which is a cultural site where the British built a fort back in the 1700s. North of Knoxville, we have Big Ridge and Norris Dam and Cove Lake State Parks within the Norris watershed area. To the west of us on the Cumberland Plateau, we have several parks that are really nice. Cumberland Mountain State Park in Crossville, Frozen Head, a mecca for hikers, and Fall Creek Falls, the jewel of our system, is on the Cumberland Plateau south of Crossville.
How can I find out about information? I've been to your website, and I want to congratulate the Park Service, because I've found not only can I find the parks, but then I can find what kind of activities I can do. So if I'm looking for hiking trails, I can look. If I'm looking for kayaking, I can find that. So it seems very well organized.
Well, thank you. Yes, we put a lot of effort into our website and a lot of information on there that you can get. For printed information, we have a park brochure, which I have a copy of I can give you here. And there is a part of the website devoted to me. I'm so proud. The State Naturalist is a little sidebar on the State Parks website, and you can ask me any questions about nature or parks through the website there. And I have a little blog where I write up something every once in a while about the parks or nature.
Well, you heard it. If anybody who's watching has a question, you just go to the website, look for Randy's name, and then if you have a question about animals, flora, fauna, and the state parks or the state parks, ask the question and Randy will answer it.
I love questions.
Well, you better, because that's what you've been doing.
I may
all
get
this
some
time.
now, yes.
Now, you know, there's, is it Seven Islands State Park?
Our newest state park is Seven Islands State Birding Park. It's about 19 miles east of Knoxville, and it's an old farm, the Kelly Farm, but it has been converted into wildlife habitat. The pastures and the fields have been turned into native wildflowers and grasses, and it is just teeming with birds. So it's become the top spot for birders in East Tennessee to go and look for the birds.
Yeah, I understand that the Tellico Village Bird Club has helped with the Bluebird Trail out there.
Oh, yes.
Is it a migration point for a lot of birds? Is that?
Well, yes, but it's the habitat enhancement that we've done there with the native plantings, and just everything they do there is meant to improve the habitat for the birds and for other wildlife that take advantage of it. In addition to bird banding and other programs, bird walks about birds, we also have things like butterfly programs and marking the monarchs as they come through to study them. And the other day I was privileged to go out and see an introduction of sturgeon into the French Broad River, which circles the peninsula where the park is located. I got to hold a sturgeon in my hand and release it into the river.
How big was it?
Oh, it's about 6 inches long.
Wow.
And the children, they would take a dip net full of baby sturgeon and put them into a kiddie pool, and all the children would line up and they would come down with their little dip nets, and it was magic to see a child lift up a sturgeon themselves and take it over and put it into the river and say, "Go on now."
How cool! How
yes.
cool! So, and those are the kind of programs that the state helps administer.
Yes,
and,
every one of our state parks have nature programs or recreational programs that we put on. Like the day after Thanksgiving, every park in the state is offering a guided hike as an alternative to standing in lines at the stores. If you want to go out and enjoy nature, we have rangers and other employees on duty the day after Thanksgiving to take you through our parks and help you enjoy it.
So how would I find out, say, like Fort Loudon, perhaps? Would I just...
Well, the state website is the place to go. They have all the hikes listed for that and our other special days. We have, every park has a hike on New Year's Day, for Public Lands Day and in the summertime, and a couple of other spring and fall trips as well.
Now, what would you say is the most popular park in the state park system?
Well, Fall Creek Falls is known by most. When I say Tennessee state parks, usually Fall Creek Falls comes up right away. It's the jewel of our system. It's spectacular in lots of different ways, and it has been named by Southern Living magazine as the best state park in the whole southeastern United States. So we're very proud of Fall Creek Falls and the scenic beauty that's there, and we have lots of things to do there as well. Most kinds of recreation can be accommodated with the facilities that we have at Fall Creek Falls.
I think there's a lodge there, if I remember.
Yes, there's a large inn. We have several cabins to rent, a very large campground.
What would you say is the hidden gem of the state park system?
Well, a couple of hidden gems that I like the hidden gems. That's where I like to go on my days off. But Frozen Head is a really great park for hikers. And the park where I spent a large amount of my career was South Cumberland State Park, which is the south part of the Cumberland Plateau and Grundy, Marion, and Sequatchie counties. Savage Gulf and the Fiery Gizzard and Buggy Top Cave are all part of the South Cumberland. If you're a hiker, Frozen Head and South Cumberland are the places you need to go. There are also great trails at Fall Creek Falls, of course, but for less crowded trails, those two parks are better. We have some new parks that are not well known yet. The Seven Islands Birding Park is still a great place to go without crowds. Rocky Fork in Unicoi County is still undeveloped, but you can go there and walk, and it is absolutely breathtaking, beautiful. And some of our older parks, like Norris Dam, are kind of hidden jewels. They don't receive the heavy visitation of places like Radnor Lake or Cummins Falls near Cookeville, but they are beautiful places that you can go.
It's been my experience in other states that have national parks and state parks that a lot of times, that particularly in really busy times, you can really find a good place to go in the state parks and not have the crowds.
Sure, yeah. Even in busy times in a state park, you can find a place for peace and quiet. At Fall Creek Falls, when I was a seasonal employee there, the park may be full of people, but with a little effort you can go out on a trail or down under some trees and find a quiet place.
Yeah, it's been also my experience that you get about a mile away from the trailheads and
Yes.
you really start to thin out the
Sure.
traffic.
The trails are the place to go for peace and quiet.
Well, that's good. Now, about how many acres are in the park system? Do you have a ballpark?
Well, I don't have an exact figure for you, but I know we have more than 100,000 acres of land if you put all the state parks together. Fall Creek Falls itself is over 26,000 acres.
Really?
And Frozen Head is very close. So we have several large areas. Several of our parks are very small, though, with the Bicentennial Mall in Nashville being 15 acres, our smallest land holding.
And in size, where would Loudon State Park rank? Would it be a large, medium, small?
Fort Loudon, I believe, is in the medium category. It's got several hundred acres, but not thousands.
Now, are there other state parks that are also historic sites?
Yes, we have several historic areas. I just spent the weekend, last weekend, at Sergeant Alvin C. York State Historic Park, and we had an observance of Veterans Day along with reenactments of World War I activities, with even the antique aircraft flying over.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? The old
So,
biplanes?
A great way to learn history and even experience a little taste of it with our reenactments or our historic sites.
Now, Loudon has reenactments, right?
Absolutely. They have several weekends during the year they call Garrison Weekends, where the Rangers dress up in their red coats and inform the visitors about how life was like back in the 1700s.
So that'd be a good place to go for any of you who are watching or history buffs, or if you happen to have some grandchildren down and are looking for a great place to go, check, and maybe they're going to be down when there's a reenactment going on.
Indeed.
Yes, that'd be great. You know, I mentioned the website before, and I really have to urge everyone to go to that website because a lot of planning went into it. And if you do have a question, you can not only ask Randy here, but you can also put in a search and find, you know, what you need to find. Can you make reservations for lodging there?
We have gone to computerized reservations, and that's really helped our bottom line, you might say, because the reservation system has inspired the people to come camping more. When they're assured of a campsite, they have a reservation for it. A lot of our campgrounds fill up that didn't fill up before. So you can go to the website and follow the links and reserve you a cabin or a room or a campsite. We even have some programs on there that you can reserve your space for. And there is another place to ask questions too. There's Ask Tennessee State Parks, and we have a staff in Nashville that are social media experts. We have a Facebook page as well that you can ask questions on. So several different places you can get information about the parks.
That's really interesting. Now, I guess the state park that would be the greatest distance from here would be Reelfoot State Park?
You're probably right about
Yeah.
that. Reelfoot Lake is in the upper western corner of the state. You'd have Missouri across the Mississippi River to the west and Kentucky across the swamp to the north. So it's in the very corner of the state, but it is a real jewel. Not only because of its mysterious swamp, balcypress swamp habitat, but it is teeming with wildlife. Back in the 1920s, when they were fighting to save the Great Smoky Mountains, they were also thinking about trying to make Reelfoot Lake a national park. It didn't turn out that way. It became a national wildlife refuge, state wildlife refuge, and a state park. We all manage it together now. but it is a place to go see wildlife. If you don't see wildlife when you're there, you're not looking. I've seen clouds of winter waterfowl, such as snow geese. I saw a cloud of 10,000 snow geese once circling a field.
Wow, literally a cloud.
Yes, and right now the big white pelicans are gathering on the lake. There are hundreds of pelicans floating around out on the lake.
They migrating from the north down?
That's right.
Now, that's the biggest lake natural lake in Tennessee, am I right?
Well, it's one of the few natural lakes. Most of the lakes, especially in middle and eastern Tennessee, are man-made lakes. Along the Mississippi River, Reelfoot Lake, created by an earthquake in 1811, is one of the few naturally occurring lakes. It's an old meander of the Mississippi that sank 10 feet during the earthquake and created a lake. There are several smaller lakes along the Mississippi too.
Wow, that's really interesting. We're about out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us before the old clock runs out on us, Randy?
Well, I would like to invite everybody to come out and join me for a program. I do hikes and programs all over the state. We have some package tours coming up in 2017, waterfall tours, wildflowers, and fall colors, and you can find out about those on the website by going to the Plan a Gathering, click on that, and vacation packages. A ranger at Fall Creek Falls and I lead those, and we have a great time, so we'd like to invite everybody to come out and join us for that so that we can go.
Well, that sounds great. Now, I'm going to ask Randy to do one more thing before we go. Randy, can you put your hat on?
Sure.
I mean, there he is. I mean, a Tennessee State Park. That's it, a representative.
That's right.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Randy.
My pleasure.
And I'm Keith Sanderson for Tellico Village Broadcasting, bringing you a great episode of Tellico Village Naturally, and invite you to watch us for the next episode, which is going to feature snakes.